Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Versace Gunner. We're here another episode of VSW. Today, we have with us the reigning and defending RW World Champion, the one and only, the loose cannon, Ray Rancin. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Versace, for having me on here. It's always a pleasure. It's always a privilege. So again, much appreciate you taking time out to do this for me and allow me to, give this a plug because I love what I'm doing with RW. I mean, Reunion Wrestling, we're making moves, and I think this upcoming event is just gonna really highlight our strengths and our attributes, and allow us to really show ourselves out.
I think so. I've watched RW since the beginning. I got a hold and wind of it during the pandemic. And I started to go back and watch episodes. I'm like, hey, I know this guy. Hey, I know this guy. Cool. And then I was like, hey, I don't know this guy and I don't know that guy. And so it gave me an opportunity to say, hey, I want to find out. And I happened to be running a show at a podcast show at the same time that I was doing, where I was getting different wrestlers from around the country kind of together to do a show. And RW happened to be coming up with something, and I talked to a few of the guys. And I noticed something. That was different. It wasn't your typical show. They were bringing something back, but they were adding a new flavor to it. And it had a very mixed kind of feel to it. You didn't really know what you were walking into an RW show. Anything could happen. Now, granted, you've been there pretty much since the beginning. Your start there, I'll have to say, was a little shaky. It took you a little while to have things not be so tough for you there. We'll put it that way. You had an obstacle in the beginning, as champion. You had Tough Daddy, the first champion. And he tried to kind of, dictate how things were going to go in RW. But you came out strong right away, and you came with friends. You had the Bitter Club by your side. And I think that had an advantage. Tough was a lone soldier.
Oh, definitely. Having the Bitter Club by my side gives me a decided tactical advantage. I mean, Scott Levesque, he's brilliant. We've got Eric Dillon with all his experience, Peter Crave, Scotty Jive, Casey Shooter. I mean, these guys have been around. These guys know the game inside and out. So getting to pick their brains, every time that I'm with them, that also gives me a huge advantage whenever I'm in the ring with whomever it might be.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it brings that flavor. You have a lot of veterans in there, okay? You have a lot of people that worked back in the day, you have a lot of those people from ACW, like we talked about. They pulled some of these guys that they could get back or that would come back, or that could wrestle still, whatever. And then you work from there, and they brought in new people. I've seen people like Dick Lane out there, Mike Montero, great athletes in New England. I remember going to the show. I remember seeing people, a friend, that was there. Isana was there watching. I was like, wow, this is cool. Wrestlers watching it, people enjoying it. And that's what wrestling should be, something fun. It doesn't have to be so taken seriously. This is not the Olympics. This is not, the World Boxing, Commission where, punch for punch, blow for blow. And wrestling can be like that if you want to really match stats, but at some point you gotta look and be like, this is supposed to be fun, enjoyment. And I think RW brings that fun side back to wrestling. It brings that back. I've seen zombies. I've seen things that, they were doing zombies there before WWE. I've seen other fun aspects brought in that you wouldn't see at your typical normal show.
Exactly. And I would say that I think that's really RW's, let's say out of everything in RW, the one thing that we have going for us that really allows us to stand out is that element of surprise, that level of excitement that I don't know that a lot of other promotions have that. I'm not trying to disparage other promotions. I'm just saying that, in all the shows that I've been to, both live and televised, I haven't seen a great deal of that.
But no, because it becomes a standardized, and fans expect a standard, and to excel past that standard is a risk, because if it fails, then it doesn't work, and now you're under the standard and your show sucks. So they'll just keep it standard and play it safe. You'll get surprises, but it might be, you know, something big, but it won't be the whole show that's a surprise. Or you won't, you know, like that anticipation of, you know, what am I coming here to see? That's gone from most shows. When I walked into that, you know, granted it was pandemic era, so there was no other fans, it was just other wrestlers, and you know, there was another show running later that day in taping. So they were there too to watch as well.
Yes.
But they acted like fans, and everybody, you know, cheered and booed and did what they were supposed to do. I didn't know what I was expecting. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't know what kind of matches I would see. And when the people came out, I didn't know what they would be able to do. You know, I had some, you know, somebody comedic like Zach Justice coming out and dancing, but he was also very good in ring and wrestling. And I was like, I wasn't expecting that. There was other, you know, matches. I wasn't expecting the hardcore match that I saw to be so hardcore, because you never know what you're going to get in the indie scene for a hardcore match. Sometimes, you know, it's just a chair or something small, and other times they go all out. They bring in all the weapons, and you got people bumping on Legos, and you got people bumping on thumbtacks and, you know, bats. And it doesn't have to be bloody. Nobody's got a blade, but you know, the imprints of the weapons alone are enough to say, damn, you know, that had to hurt. You know, I'll take a small cut over a Lego imprint any day. Those things hurt. But yeah, you know, and that's something that RW does bring. And let me ask you, so, you know, in the early days, like I said, you know, Tough, he actually faced Scott Levesque for that title. He won it. He came out victorious. And, you know, would you say that would be the moment, or what moment did you want to be champion?
Well, I wanted to be champion from the very moment that I stepped back into the ring at RW, because it's something that I'd always wanted to do. It was the one goal that I hadn't attained anywhere else, because I'd never even really had the opportunity. I was never presented with title shots. So when I found out that I had a chance finally to redeem myself and reinvent myself, I took advantage of it. And when I learned that RW was looking to consider me as a contender, I said, if I get the opportunity, I'm going to capitalize on it. And that's precisely what I did.
As a champion would, I mean, if you didn't capitalize, you wouldn't be sitting there with the belt. You have to be smart to be a champion. It's not just about opportunity. You have to get the opportunity, and then you have to know what to do with the opportunity. And sometimes people don't know what to do with that opportunity, and that's why it slips through their fingers, and they, you know, they get their shot and they miss it. It happens, though. That's part of the business. You're not one of those individuals, you know, you got the brain for it, you got the smart, you're playing chess, they're playing checkers, so you're out there to collect that title. And that's what you did. You outsmarted Tough in every which way you could. You took it. And then I feel like your career began again, you know. You became a poster boy. You became, you know, you were on the cover of the RW magazine. I mean, that's big. No one, you know, I think you've been the first person on the cover of a major wrestling magazine, and since like WWE stopped printing theirs. That's big news. I see, you know, you got the title, you're having other title shots, you're getting good matches, you're getting names. And that brings you right to this point right here, you know. This is a big, big deal, I feel. I mean, I don't know if, you know, the newer generation might not think so. They might say blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, your opponent, who is you're defending this world title against, is one of the best in-ring workers in the world. You know, not just in New England, not just in RW, but in the world. And he's worked at that world level.
Yes, he's an old school guy, Richie Rich. I mean, he goes all the way back to the days of the territory system. And I believe he was trained by Kowalski personally. So,
and I mean, and here's a guy that I literally, you know, and watched on television as a kid when I used to watch Monday Night Raw on Mondays, because it was only an hour and it didn't take up my whole night. And I saw him fight Bret Hart, you know, and I'm like, wow, because, you know, at that point, they weren't doing superstars versus superstars. They were giving people that were on that independent scene or on that level a chance. Where now today they have their roster and that is it. you never really see the under roster. Back then on Raw, you would get all these great guys like Barry Horowitz and stuff. They would come in and have their matches. Richie Rich was one of them, and he burst, at the time, one of my favorite wrestlers, Bret the Hitman Hart, one of the coolest dudes, the shades, the pink, the hot pink. He, the predecessor of Hulk Hogan, what you wanted to be, he played into that 90s rad kind of, vibe. And it was a great match. And, just to have them under your belt, to say that I fought with Bret Hart on a historical television show for one of the biggest companies in pro wrestling is a feat in itself. And now here he is coming after your title right now. And it's like, this might be your biggest fight of your life.
It is, without question. In terms of his experience, in terms of his ability, it's a no-brainer. He is definitely my most challenging adversary to date. And I'm excited because this is what I've been waiting for. I've been just fighting and scraping and clawing for an opportunity like this. And now it's finally here to take on somebody of his caliber. This is huge for me. And I've been training as diligently as I possibly can. I mean, given all the injuries that I've had, I'm taking this as seriously as I've taken anything in my life, professionally and or personally.
And I mean, it would rightfully do. I mean, I won't say you've faced, terrible wrestlers. You've had your ups and downs of who you faced in the past. But you haven't had those, some of the opportunities like some of the other boys and girls have gotten. You haven't gotten to face some of the TV talent or some of the people that have been around, and in the times that you weren't wrestling, maybe you would have been, I don't know, who knows, the world's a funny place. But right now, all of a sudden, you're getting to face a name. Now, do you feel like this right here solidifies and legitimizes your career as a pro wrestler? Do you feel like it adds to that?
Oh, yes, I do. And I mean, for me, it just validates me because this allows me to prove to an audience, what I'm capable of doing against, top level talent. Because he is. I mean, he's been in there with legends, and he was trained by one of the legends for wrestling. So, this is a chance for me to, I mean, really showcase myself at that level. Yeah, it's that old saying, iron sharpens iron. So,
and that's the thing. And then from here, the sky is the limit, because now it's like, okay, I've worked with this guy, and other people are gonna say, well, he's worked with this guy. Maybe I want to work, or maybe I want a title shot. If you end up coming victorious in this, which I do think you will. You're smart enough. I think you will beat him, but I think it is going to be your most challenging battle to date. I think he's going to give you a run for your money here, because he does know the ins and outs of pro wrestling. He's been through it. He's fought in other champions. He's fought in, like you said, legends. He knows what it's about. But again, he's not loose cannon Ray Rancin. And you have a very good way of making things turn in your favor when need be, and I do feel you will pull through. But that's, again, my personal opinion. And I've always liked your character. I don't like necessarily the fan favorites or the baby faces that are out there. I like the people that give a little shade, have a little heat, because they're a little edgy, and that's what people are in life. Not everybody's a happy, coming out. Hi, how you doing?
Right.
Everybody. No one's like that. Everybody's got a fucking attitude. And that's how life is. It's just, does your fucking attitude vibe with mine or not? And it does. I feel like your loose cannon attitude definitely vibes with the Poseidon Stone attitude. And we've had fun. We've done things. We've been places. We went to see shows. We've seen shows together. We've done other things outside of, pro wrestling. And we've had fun times.
we have.
But, you weren't training at that point. Like you said, at that point it was kind of in between, a waiting game, waiting for a name, waiting for an opponent, waiting for a show even. And sometimes that can be the most frustrating part of the weight game. How do you stay sharp? How do you stay mentally sharp, or mentally even wanting to still do it in the weight game?
Well, it's a mentality that I've had my whole life as an athlete, going back to when I was 8 years old. And that is always be training, always be in the gym, working out, always stay focus and, whether it's watching tape or sparring or again, just whether it's, hitting the weights or doing the cardio, making sure that, I'm taking care of my body and my brain, and dieting is also very important. Because when I found out that I was going to go in there with Richie Rich, I started tweaking the diet again, making sure that I was eating, cleaner food, good solid food, and making sure that my physical training was up to par, so that way I could get in there with a guy like that. Because, you know, and when you're going up against somebody like a Richie Rich, you need every single advantage you can get. And I'd like to think that being younger, being fresher is going to help me in the end get the victory and retain the championship title.
And I like that, but it seems like with your training in particular, any which way, you do a lot of you would train as if you were having an MMA fight or a boxing match. It's
Yes.
not, it's a general. It's not so much you're in the ring, working on your suplex or anything like that, or making people tap. You're out there building your body and getting it to be able to take a beating in the ring and give a beating.
That's right.
And I think a lot of people forget about that. They go in there, they perfect their move, and that's great. You know how to put the Boston Crab on perfect. You can make me tap in 5 seconds. That's great. But what's that going to do if your body can't last 20 seconds in the ring because it's tired? You can't even pick my legs up. You have to be what you're saying. You have to have that regular training of my endurance levels up, my cardio levels up, my body is steel. I can take hits, punches, kicks, whatever it is, it's going to happen. I'm not going to, lose my steam because I get punched one time. You see that sometimes, people that don't train right, they'll get hit in the stomach or the gut. They're out for the match. Done, gone, bye. You've seen other wrestlers come out, hot and heavy, and then they lose steam and they're tired. Well, that's because they don't put in the cardio work. And you can be the greatest pro wrestler in the world. Like I said, you can perfect your moves, do the most damage, have the best pile driver, cleanest pile driver. It's not going to matter much unless you are in physical and cardio shape. And that's the truth. And I like that about you. You take it very serious. You take it as a real sport.
Yes, because that's, especially in 2024, it's so important to do that, because more than ever, you have so many people in pro wrestling coming from athletic backgrounds, extremely well-conditioned athletes from all walks of life, whether it be, football, amateur wrestling, track, gymnastics. So I have to be able to compete with all of these types of individuals. And part of what allows me to do this at my age is, keeping my body resilient, keeping it as durable as I possibly can, all things considered.
And again, that's the important part. It really is. I think not everybody, but I feel like a few people neglect that. A few people will be like, I do this, and this, so I do the weights, but I don't do the cardio so much, so I don't put in, to that part of the training. And it eventually shows, you can be in shape and look good and have a very low cardio level. That's very, that happens. It happens even, people I boxed. And I'll be honest, I wasn't the biggest cardio fan. I hate running. I hated running. I hate it with a passion. It killed my knees. It killed my ankles. So I didn't run a lot. What I ended up finding that I liked to do for cardio was the jump rope. So I did a lot of jump rope for my cardio work, and I ended up doing that. But I found something. I hated doing even that, so I wasn't into the cardio. I wanted to just get to hitting the bag and doing that. I figured that would be a cardio enough, but it's not. You need to work just, like I said, the heart muscle itself, get that to a good level, get your breathing controlled in a regular state. So, because that's the other thing, you have to control during a match of any caliber. You have to control your breathing. You start breathing frantically, you're wasting energy, you're wasting your breath, you're wasting, and you start losing steam very fast. So you have to have a controlled breath, and you want to breathe out. You don't want to be doing sucking big breaths of air. And these are all techniques you learn while doing other exercises. So when you get in there and are in a fight situation, it's not so detrimental to, your game. You're in there and you're fresh. It doesn't feel like, you're running a marathon. You're trained ready for it. And then, it might not be like boxing, which it's like 2-3 minute rounds where you have to train 2,000-3,000 hours for those each round. But you still need to train for a match to that caliber, because matches can go anywhere between, I've seen matches, end in minutes, but for the typical match, anywhere between 8 and an hour, depending on how people are fighting and what's going on. So you've got to be out there the whole time. And again, if you're going to lose steam in 5 minutes, you're not going to be very much of a contender.
Agreed. And that's why I, put in the time and the work that I do, because, I recognize how important it is to be well conditioned all around. Like you say, like it, whether it's the strength, the cardio, the stamina, the flexibility, any athlete that wants to be successful in any sport at any level needs to be up to the highest level of fitness in every regard, because we can all be sure that the athletes against whom that they're competing will be.
Well, yeah,
no question about it.
And you don't know what other people train like, but you have to assume. You shouldn't assume that they don't train. Assume that they're training at 100% velocity, and if they go in and they're untrained or they're not, up to par, good, you're at an advantage. But you never want to put yourself at the disadvantage by assuming anything about your opponent, because you don't know. You never know what they're doing. You can watch their tape, you can watch their fights, you can get to know their moves, you can get to know how they operate and certain things they do before they do these things, and you can learn that, but you don't know what they put in, to their training. You're not following them around 24/7. So you never know how ready somebody else is going to be, but you can know how ready you're going to be. And that's where it begins, making yourself ready for anyone to come. If Richie, you beat him and somebody else comes down afterwards to try to fight you right away, you got to be ready for that too, because it is, RW. It is pro wrestling. Anything can happen. We've seen people, come after titles. People be coming and fighting. Anything can happen.
Sure. Because again, and you hit it perfectly, that I have to be prepared for anything, because I don't know how. I mean, it could be he starts out, fast and furious, and we find ourselves in a real, Pier 6 Donnybrook, as Jim Ross might say. It could be a real siege, a real battle. And again, I mean, being prepared for anything and everything that can possibly happen is key.
And now, how do you feel about being the face of the company? Because holding that title makes you that face of the company. How do you feel like that? I mean, obviously you're proud about it, but do you feel like you should have some say-so on how things are run, or how's that work?
Well, I don't focus on anyone except myself. I don't worry about things I can't control. I leave that to the people in charge. As far as who I wrestle, I don't care. I tell them, okay, you have an opponent for me. If you want to let me know who it is, that'd be great. And that's it. Like, I don't.
You're not even. So you're really a fighting champion. You're not out there picking picking people, saying, "Hey, I want to fight this guy," because maybe you heard he was injured 2 weeks ago or something like that. You're not picking your opponent. People, are finding them for you, which is fine. That goes to show that you're up for any challenge. Whoever they throw in front of you, that you're ready to fight. Some people get the title, they let it run through their head, and all of a sudden, they're the face of the company, which you're supposed to be as champion. But all of a sudden, they're running it, and they're saying, I'm only going to fight this person. I only want to fight that person. Or I'm only going to defend the title here and there. Or I'm not going to defend the title today. You see that even on mainstream wrestling. You see people like Logan Paul. I'm not defending the U.S. title. I don't want to. It happens. So I'm glad to see you as a fighting champion, because I like a fighting champion. I grew up in days where, champions like Bruno Sammartino and shit were defending their title every night in some arena somewhere. And people, took that as, this guy's a fighting champion. It's very easy to become a champion. It's harder to stay champion. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Because as a champion, if I have one bad night, that's it.
You're
My,
out.
my reign is over.
And you don't know when you're gonna get another shot. I mean, I don't know who up next is in line. I mean, if I had to gauge things, I'd be, I'd have some eyes on that brother versus brother feud that's going on with the Tuckers. I think one of them might be in line for a title shot down the line at some point. But I don't know who else is on the scene to kind of say, hey, I got to watch out for them. Reggie is pretty, one of the most notable, though, guys in there as far as what he's bringing for experience-wise on that national level. Granted, you have people, like I said, like Stella, he's been around forever and he's done some amazing work in New England and abroad, but he's never been on that TV style level. He's never fought the Bret Harts. He's never brought in that physicality to it. So, and that's not to take anything away from anybody either. People just get where they are, and that's how you go. If you're saying he was trained by Kowalski, well, Kowalski had a great in with the WWE. So guess what? He was sending people all the time, students and everybody, beating them. New England was a beating ground. New England Pro Academy, Chaotic Wrestling, all used to be a beating ground for WWE. So they would just keep shipping people. Today, creative pros use a lot in AEW. It's kind of the same thing. They take a lot of the students, they send them on TV, they bring them back, do the same thing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's fine, but it's just how, sometimes it's who you trained or where you trained that gets you where you are, because that's who they have the connection and the promotion with. Every school kind of, is connected to a certain promoter or promotion, and you can kind of like, figure out which shows you're going to work. But granted, there's other notable people in there as well that I've seen. You mentioned somebody, that I on the scene that I liked, and I've seen him, and I saw him personally wrestle. And that was Scotty Jive. He mesmerized me what he could still do at that. He's up there in age as well. What he could still do in the ring was I wasn't expecting it that day that I saw him wrestle.
Yeah, Scotty Jive has always been a superb wrestler and a real student of the game, as are all the members of the bigger club. So, the fact that, he's still able to deliver, at his age, because, I mean, let's face it, we're all getting up there. I think just goes to show, what kind of wrestler he truly is. And I would say that at some point he could very well be a contender for the RW title if I were to lose it at some point, which is always a possibility. And definitely with Richie Rich, it is a distinct possibility that I could indeed come up on the short end of the stick, July 6th at Delusions of Grandeur.
Oh, I hope not. I hope you don't come short. I'll lose $1,000. I've already put in the bet. But I don't think you will. I think you're gonna. Well, like you said, you never do know. It is reunion wrestling, and you do never know what's gonna take place. But that's any night, and that's any sport. You never know who. That's why I think like a lot of professional sports do these series, because teams can have a bad day or a bad night. Wrestlers don't get a best out of 5 or 6, matches. It's like, okay, tonight's your night. Either you win or lose that title, and that's it. It's either shut up or or put up, and it's just like, okay, I gotta go. And that's the thing. There's no do-overs, no remakes, no pausing it. You got to be ready for what that night or whatever night that could come your way. And that's the thing. Pro wrestlers are always ready. I've seen people, have weird matches where they're defending titles that can be taking place anyway. Kind of like that 24/7 title, and they'll be ready. They'll be fighting in a parking lot somewhere in 2 seconds. They're ready to battle, and they're on their wits. And a lot of it is memory, muscle memory. You start to learn things, you just automatically tune in. But a lot of it is just being prepared, being ready. Nothing quite like that. Wrestlers I think get underrated a lot. A lot of them get kind of sung with the old wrestlers of, all these big dumb dudes, big muscular dummies. And, they're just coming out throwing pounds and fists, couple moves. But it's not, like I said earlier, and I said it, a lot of them are playing chess out there. A lot of them are strategic masters, not just in their wrestling skills, but in what they're even out there doing. what they're selling you as to the crowd. They'll come out, they'll sell you their shirt, their pants, whatever, and you'll buy it. They're smart people. There's a lot of smart businessmen in wrestling. There's a lot of business women in wrestling. There's a lot of smart people in wrestling. Wrestling is definitely changing who goes there. It's not all about the sports players anymore. Now you're getting a lot of intelligent people out there going, you know, I'm into the physicality, but I'm also into the showmanship of what wrestling can be. And then they bring that level to it. And it is becoming a glorious thing. Pro wrestling is becoming one of the, you know, number one things again. It feels like another boom. It really does. It's not just, you know, on the indie scene or the big scene. It's just all around everything. A lot of people talking pro wrestling.
True. I mean, professional wrestling has most certainly changed over the years. And going back to what I had mentioned earlier about athletes coming now from all various backgrounds, like, you know, whether it be gymnastics or, you know, not just, you know, the traditional sports from.
Well, not even. I mean, like I said, like they took Logan Paul. He was a podcast. I mean, yes, he had some boxing experience, but he was a social media guy. They've taken singers, Bad Bunny. They threw him in the training facility for a little bit, and out he went to fight. He was a reggaeton singer. You know, so you know they are getting everybody from different places. And even on the indie scene, you know, you got people that, you know, I remember interviewing people that came and they were like, "Oh, I never did anything physical. It was my first, you know, thing. I thought wrestling was cool, you know." People that want to get into for the character work and do it that way. And they might be good, like you said, in something else, or they might be good in, you know, baseball, basketball, whatever it is. But they have an athletic background where I feel like predominantly for years and years they were just focusing on football players, just taking from football players. They took a few baseball players, Randy Savage being one of them, but from predominantly in wrestling, everybody was assuming football players. And again, that went to that big, brawny, jockey kind of look that they were looking for. Over the years, that's changed too. We have little guys, big guys, all different size wrestlers now. It's very inclusive, and it's better than ever because everybody can play along if you can hang with the guys and the girls. You know, if you can get in the ring and get your ass beat, then you can get in the ring and get your ass beat. You're not going to be told no because you're not, you know, you're too short or too big. But again, you know, you have to be able to be, you know, a wrestler. You have to know what you're doing. You have to go to school to be a wrestler or get, you know, real training under your belt if you know someone that can do that. There is people out there, you know, I know everybody's with the school training, got to be school trained, got to be school trained. I'm like, yes and no. School training is great, but it's very costly. A lot of people in this industry have made it very far because they had very good friends that are good wrestlers or good trainers, and they trained them as they went along and just slowly showed them the ropes and made sure they were safe. And some of them became very notable. And there's nothing wrong with that either. You know, some people it's better for them to train as they go, as they're working. You know, they'll start off in a small match and then work their way up and learn as they keep going and get better and better and better. There's different ways because people learn differently. And that's the thing. The only thing I do say is do learn how to wrestle before stepping in the ring. Don't go in there thinking because you saw it on TV or saw it on YouTube that you can do it, because that's far from the fact. Nobody can. You'll get hurt. You'll strain yourself. You'll hurt yourself. I remember, you know, because I've been to some seminars, I've done some, you know, trainings. So I knew how to run ropes. The first thing they showed us at the chaotic school, they showed us how to run ropes. We were at one of these shows. Mikey was there with us. You know, Mikey, he says he's going to run the ropes. He never ran the rope before, but he's seen it on TV many times. So he runs at the rope, he leans right, his whole back into it. Like it's gonna springboard him forward and send him flying. No. The rope snaps back and basically whiplashed his back and the bottom, and he fell straight to the ground, and it hit his sciatic nerve, and he couldn't walk for 3 days.
Oh my God.
So he didn't know not to run. You know, wrestlers don't run like that. They run, they hold on to the rope, first of all, so they don't fall over. Second of all, they're running on their side. They're hitting their side of it, and they're not really using it as a springboard. They're just holding on and running back. It's not what you think. It's not a bunch of rubber bands throwing you around. They're cables. When I was done with that day of learning how to run ropes, I have bruises up and down my ribs. But it's just things like that, you see it on TV, you think, oh, I could do this easily. It's like, no, that's not even what you're nowhere near what you think you're doing. And that's all I say to people, But I don't really get into that. Because there's so many people out there now that, have good training, and we got a really rich and dense wrestling scene, meaning that you can almost find wrestling every night of the week, and you can find good wrestling almost every night of the week. And like I said, it's another Renaissance era. There's just been so much of it. This weekend alone, there's another 3 shows coming up. Next weekend there'll be more shows coming. Every weekend there's shows. There's never a weekend with no shows. You never see that in pro wrestling. Every weekend there's a show, at least one.
Well, and that's what I love about professional wrestling in 2024. I would say that the state of professional wrestling is as great as it could possibly be, because you have all these independent promotions out there, and you're seeing, like, for example, the NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, they're making a comeback, and they're looking to return to their former status in the wrestling world. So yes, professional wrestling, I think, is healthier than it's ever been.
And that's the thing, and I think, to stay with that, that's why, granted, I watch some of it here and there. I don't watch a lot of TV wrestling because I don't have time. 3 hours of my night can take away from a lot from the family, so I don't get the time. I do watch clips, though. I do watch YouTube. I do watch other things, or at least sometimes we'll watch. If I can get the whole family stuff that my kid wants to watch, we'll watch a pay-per-view here and there. But most of the time, I watch this indie stuff. But for a while, I was getting my news and sources from like Twitter and X or whatever, and I just found it to be just horrendous. The fan base is freaking horrendous on the mainstream level. Everybody's still fighting like it's 1990s. It's like, it's just stupid. Everyone's like, this is done. Everybody's just really nasty at each other, and you start to have an opinion. People start, calling you names. It's bullshit. So I really try to stay out of that mainstream wrestling realm. But I love seeing things like NWA come out. MLW's been doing really well. Because these aren't by no means indie, promotions, but they're not WWE either. They're right in between, but they have their own dedicated fan base. People love this stuff. And we're seeing a lot of people from New England get on MLW, which is nice. Getting that national exposure is nice, especially from people that we see on the smallest scale. And that's why I always like to watch, even the smallest pro wrestling show, because there'll be somebody on there that you're going to see that's either been or came from TV. And look at this case. You're fighting Richie Rich. He's been there. He was on Raw. I watched it on Raw on, USA Network right after Texas Walker Ranger. And, I saw the match. I remember, seeing the whole thing, and it's just a cool experience. I'm sure it's cool for you, but even me as a fan of pro wrestling, because I've been a wrestling fan for so long, it's cool to see these guys and girls still performing, still at their peak, still doing their thing. And it's like timeless. Some of them, honestly, it's timeless. They're like they were. They don't age. And I don't know if you guys get special hot dogs or not, but some of them don't. You guys don't age. It's wild, but yeah, I love seeing the growth. I love seeing the come up. I love seeing, people move around, because those people, they've been grinding, they've been working at it. Like even you've been patiently waiting and working and doing what you can and taking opportunities where you can. Granted, you haven't been given a lot of them in recent years, and the pandemic slowed you down, and illness has slowed you down, and other life has slowed you down. But every opportunity you have gone, you've taken it, and you've taken it to the next level, and you've shown what you can do. So, I love even seeing this, because now you're getting a break. You're fighting someone, like I said, Richie Rich. Great to see that. I'm very happy for that as a person level. As a wrestling fan, I think it's going to be a hell of a freaking match, because Richie Rich is a solid wrestler. But again, you are too. You have the loose cannon, but you're also very technically sound. You bring that MMA level of fighting to wrestling. And that's unique. Not everybody can do that. You know, there's only been a handful of major street stars that have done it successfully. And you're here, you are on the indie scene able to do that, and it's great to see that because a lot of guys do go out, oh, I can do the elbow drop great or this or that. It's like, have you ever seen Ray wrestle? He can wrestle. I don't know if you can wrestle. You can jump, but you can't wrestle. I love to see it. I love to see it. I love seeing you in action. Like I said, it's good to see people I know in action. Especially on this level, though. I'm excited for this one. I think it's going to change the course of RW. I think it's going to change this show in particular. I think it's going to take RW to the next level. The card is stacked. I saw it the other day in a post. It's got all these names on it. A lot of them, like I said, New England, greats. They've been in this area for a long time, putting on and defending, winning titles, doing great things. And something about it, I just said, like, I'm getting a feeling, like I said, seeing the advertising for it, seeing things for it, I'm like, okay, something's changed, things are pushing. And I think, this match with you and him is going to be a classic match that people are going to be talking about in New England. I think they're going to be like, did you see that Ray versus Richie match? I think people are going to be calling you up after saying, hey, Ray, what are you doing next Saturday? I think, for Richie, if he, doesn't come out winning, I think he's going to learn a lesson too that, here's Ray Rancin, the new champion. He's still here and he's here to stay. But that won't stop him from grinding either. He's not going to up and quit. It's not an I quit match, and that's the thing about Richie. He's lost. He didn't beat Bret Hart that night, but he's still in the game today and he's still getting another shot at the title. Why? Because he's been persevered. His perseverance is tremendous. He's not going to stop. He's not going to give up. He'll keep going until he gets another title shot from either you or the next champion. And that's what I love to see too. People that don't just quit because they're not doing well or not doing good. I like to see people that are still in it, even when they're having bad times. Because face it, you're not always going to be on top in the wrestling world. It's a slide.
Correct. And, regardless of what happens against Richie, July 6th, I do expect that I'll be seeing him again at some point in a return match. If I do retain the title, or whether or not, he ends up taking the belt. I think I will face him a second time. I definitely don't anticipate this being the first and last time that I get in there with him. And that's okay, because whether it's him or whomever I have to face, I'm quite willing. As you said, I'm somebody that is a fighting champion, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I say that because it's true. I'm highly competitive and I love to win. I love to fight. So, whoever I'm in there with, I'm going to go at them with everything I have.
I will say this though. I don't see the former champion there. I don't see him listed being there. I would look under the ring to make sure he's not there to make you lose.
I think the Bitter Club will take care of that. They'll be looking out for him. You can make book on that for Sachi.
But it was something that I did see. I did know that I was like, okay. And that always strikes me. It's like, why isn't the former champion? Why isn't he? Is he going to pull something? Is he trying something up his sleeve? But like I said, you got the Bitter Club. And that's where it stands. It's one thing to have a manager, but now you got a squad. And they're loyal. The Bitter Club doesn't turn on you.
No.
Nor do they, talk behind your back. It's not one of those situations. I've seen many stables in New England, and all of a sudden, the three of them are talking about the fourth one, and all of a sudden the whole thing falls apart. That's not happening here. Everybody's loyal, and everybody wants to see the succeed. So I like that. I like that, and I like stables. You don't get them enough, and I think it's because a lot of times it's hard to work them or get that many people together. But in this case, it works great. And it's dominant. And I remember, like I said, watching the show, seeing them come out, seeing you come out. You were repping that show that I came to. It was fun seeing you being guest rev. And just good times. And I do look forward to seeing how this all plays out. I really do. For the fans at home and the people watching, how can they buy tickets for this? Is it a sold out show? How does that work?
Yes, you can still get tickets at the door, and I'm gonna give all the information right now, and I'll repost it as well. I'll send you a link, but for those people who are listening right now and who will be listening to this later, it's gonna be Saturday, July 6th at the VFW Hall. That's located in Fall River in Massachusetts, and bell time is 7:30. And again, what I'll do is I'll send you a link with
Yep.
all the other particulars, and I apologize for not having them off the top of my head. But I'll put that out there because I mean there are VIP packages, there are various tickets.
Seating arrangements and stuff. It's not just a general admission show. So some shows just run everything's general. Some now you can pick your seats if you get it early enough. Me, I'm personally, if I'm going to a show, I buy whatever I can get, the VIP or whatever, so I can pick my seat. I can, get where I gotta get. So I can get there when I want to get there and not have to worry about, finding a spot or sitting in the line or doing whatever. But a lot of people like to do everything. So I always like to ask, how are things being sold? And some people do only door sales. I realized. I learned the other day that there was one promotion that only does door sales. They don't do anything online up front or anything. I'm like, really? That's gonna be a disaster. Like, I like to be secure that I'm gonna get in there.
Oh no, RW.
But
Yeah, we offer options. So yes, again, I will put that link up to buy online if that's what fans want to do. Again, they always have the option to get tickets the day of the show at the door. And again, that's the VFW Hall. And I will put the address up there as well, but they can also Google
Fall River
Fall
VFW
River.
and, on July 6th, Saturday, 7:30.
July 6th. Yes, that is a Saturday for fans that are going to be scrambling to make plans for 4th of July weekend. It is on a Saturday, so I would definitely say keep that in mind because I'm guessing people will be also doing cookouts and clam boils and things of that nature.
It's crazy this year. You know what's crazy this year? The 4th of July falls on that Thursday. And wrestling opens on Thursdays, and they run every Thursday, and they're not stopping every Thursday. So they decided to run the biggest show of the year, Americana, on the 4th of July in Worcester. And you got this crazy, insane card. Like, they're bringing people from all over the country, and right, because it's their biggest show of the year. But it's on the 4th of July. And the first thing my wife was like, "You're not going." She's sorry. She's like, "You're not going on the 4th of July."
Oh.
I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" And I'm like, damn them, they've done shows on Father's Day. I wasn't able to go because it was Father's Day. Now it's the 4th of July. I'm like, ugh. But by Saturday, people should be free unless they're going away. If they're going away, they're going away. But I think you should go to, people should go to the VFW a little early. Maybe they can, what do they do? Tailgate, barbecue out in the parking lot. Get some sausages going, get some hot dogs going, get some burgers going. Spark up a fatty, get ready for the show, talk with the fans, have a good time.
Yeah, why not? I mean, to me, what is more American than pro wrestling? Other than maybe apple pie and hamburgers, or what's the say? Oh, hot dogs and apple pie. That's the expression. I mean, what's more American? I mean, pro wrestling is about as American as it gets. So to have it exactly on America's birthday, in my view, perfectly appropriate. Had RW done that, that would have been amazing. But I can understand having it on a Saturday. That does fiscally make a little more sense. But either way,
so the thing is, wrestlers have families. You got to remember, wrestlers are real people too. So you got families, you got real lives at home, and families like to celebrate with their loved ones. It's not the major scene. People aren't making $10,000 to fight on a holiday. So it comes into play, it's just worth my time. And to the most of them, they're like, no. So the promoter will be like, okay, well, let's not do it on this day because we're not going to get anybody to wrestle for us. And we don't want to pay extreme pricing. So let's just, move it. But where wrestling open will never stop and every Thursday forever, it's just interesting that it falls on a Thursday. Now, next year it'll fall on a Friday, which will be even more wild. And then it'll fall on a Saturday, which will be crazy because everybody puts on a show, at least, like I said, one show a Saturday. So you'll have, again, pro wrestling on that 4th of July, no matter what.
And again, I mean, to me, I mean, what could be more fitting on the 4th of July?
You can't. I grew up with it synonymous, granted, because Hogan was here and Hogan was the American hero, and they pushed him down that road. So and he was an American icon. And so, and you had others like Jim Duggan and so forth and so on, and would go on. And even now, Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, he pulls that off as the American. And it is, you're sitting around, it's like football. You're sitting around, you're watching people beat the hell out of each other, you're eating good food, you're with family and friends, you're enjoying yourself, you're entertained, and it's a good time. And that's American. That's how you celebrate. That's what people want to see. And again, I think it's going to be a great weekend for pro wrestling, and it always is. But I think it will. I think people are going to do even better because it is that 4th of July week, and they're going to want to put on a better show because it'll be a memorable time, memorable weekend. And again, like I said, the indie scene is rising such to the top. It's just a great place to be watching it all. Yeah, where can people find you if they want to know more about you specifically? Do you have social media right now?
On Facebook, they can contact me directly, Ray Rancin. Then I don't put the loose cannon. It's just strictly Ray Rancin. And again, I can put you onto that link as well, so that way if people want to through you look into that, and it'll also have my business email on there, so that way if anybody wants to email me, they're welcome to do it. They're also welcome to inbox me on my Facebook account, Ray Rancin, because I do check that daily.
And you are open for, I take it you are open for bookings and such, or people want to use you.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So, definitely if there are promoters and matchmakers that are interested, I'm willing to negotiate, willing to discuss business. And, again, I'll send all of those links after, we finish this podcast. And then that way, if fans want to get a hold of me.
Yeah, definitely. I'll put it all in there and fit it all nice, make it all look pretty. And people can get a hold of you. They can see how you're gonna do. They can talk to you. However you work that out. That's great though. It's always good to have a social media presence nowadays because that's where it all is. I know some guys and girls that don't want to get onto it. And it's like, sorry, that's what people are. That's how they're gonna get a hold of you.
Exactly.
People very rarely now send emails. It's like I'll just message you on Messenger. So it's a whole different world, and it's always changing. So it's good to see that. But again, people can see you live July 6th at in Fall River, and I think that's gonna be, like I said, a hell of a show. Illusions of Grandeur, RW coming back once again.
RW7, Delusions of Grandeur. Yes, thank you for reminding me to actually give the name of the event. Yeah, Delusions of Grandeur. That's the event, and I hope people come out and watch it because, as you said, we have such an array of talent from all over New England, and we've really pulled out all the stops to try to make this a unique and exciting event. And I think fans are going to be in for a real treat if they come and watch it live. It's a good atmosphere. VFW Hall always very welcoming to us. They always treat us very well, and it is air conditioned for those fans that are worrying about, the heat and the humidity. Perfectly understandable, of course, being that summer is now officially underway. It is going to be cool. It's clean. It's a nice little venue. Versace, you've been there yourself. You can vouch for it.
And you got a good fan base. The fans are friendly. When you walk into an RW show, it's like family. The fans are family. They're friends.
Yes.
There's nobody out there to throw you shade. There's nobody out there to throw you, I don't like you because you like this wrestler or that. Everybody's one unit watching RW, having a good time. And that's important because some fan bases get cliquey, and those are kind of the shows I don't go to because it's like, I don't need that high school mentality. But when I walked in, into any RW show, it is a family of people watching this. And I like that, I have to say. And I think, obviously having an AC is good too. I remember I went to one show in the summer and it was in a place with no AC and it was hot. The wrestlers were hot. They were dying. And I'm like, I feel bad for them. You got these two guys having an Iron Man match for an hour and it's 99 degrees reading inside. Like, Jesus Christ. They're not getting water like I'm drinking water.
No.
And it's not like boxing. You don't bring the bell after 3 minutes and get a sip of water. Nobody has
No.
a drink of water in an Iron Man match. You're drinking your own sweat that's coming off your forehead.
Yes.
But I can't wait to see what happens. And for the fans at home, they obviously, if they want to get caught up, they can see all the episodes, I believe, are on YouTube, correct?
Yes, they are. Under Mac Attack. That's the link.
Yep.
Go to the Mac Attack link. And I'll also be sure to include that, so that way fans can just click, they can like, comment, subscribe, all the above if they wish.
Yeah, and like I said, you can get caught up. You can see your come up, how you captured that world title, how you been defending it, and where you are now. And I think for the new fan, that's kind of a good place and a good thing to do. I knew I did when I first got into RW. Just kind of went back and saw what was going on, get to know the characters if I don't know them. Granted, you don't have. You can walk in and just not know, but I like to know what I'm kind of stepping into. This way I know, who are these guys and who's this guy? So I'm not just totally lost or trying to figure out the whole show the whole night, and I can enjoy it a little bit more. But also there's some really great matches on there. There's a lot of fun stuff on there. And it's good wrestling, and it's free. That's the other cool thing. It's free. You don't have to subscribe to any network. You don't have to pay money for it. It's free content. You can watch it for nothing. And a lot of pro wrestling content gets behind paywalls and silly subscriptions now, or IWTV or this and that, and you don't even have to worry about that. You can just go to the free YouTube. So I do like that as well. And that's really given to the fans. You're not making us pay to see it. You're taking the money, for the initial view of the show, but you're not making us pay after the fact. For the fans that couldn't get to the show to watch it, we'll eventually see even this show get onto YouTube and be able to watch that and say, oh, there's Ray's match, and watch that. So I do, like I said, always urge people to check out the promotions and the scenes, because there's so much. They all have their own history and a rich history at that, and it's cool because it's like. Like Marvel has its universe, DC has its universe. Like wrestling's the same. Every promotion has its own universe, its own characters, its own titles, its own lineage, its own feeling, its own feel, its own everything. It's cool. But I thank you again, Ray, for coming on. As always, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and especially in this case, like I said, where you're getting ready for the big fight. And I can't wait to see you out there doing your thing.
Thank you. No, and again, I really appreciate you taking the time to bring me on here to discuss the match with Richie and the state of affairs with Reunion Wrestling. Again, always happy to be here and spend time with you. If I could, I would spend hours with you, but you and I are both busy guys, and we both have to be on our way. So thank you again.
That is. Thank you. And you know what? Thank you, everybody at home, for watching again. Delusions of Grandeur, Saturday, July 6th. Get your tickets. We're going to post the links. If not, get down there, get them at the door. Check out all these great matches. They're going to have a bunch of them. And it's going to be a good time if you like pro wrestling. And you're not going to break the bank either going. I promise you that.